destination, and I'm currently here beside the co-founder of Wilson's Lemonade, Mr. Shehi Abolaji. How did this get started? So I moved back to Nigeria. Oh, you moved back? Where were you before then? In the States. I went to school in California at Stanford University, and then I actually just came back to visit. Or when I came back to visit, I felt...
Wow, that's one of the top-rated universities, Stanford University.
Like, hey, this is where I need to be, because I have many aunties and uncles in the States that there's always a 2-year plan. So in the next 2 years, I'm going back home.
Oh, really?
20, 30 years later, still in the next 2 years. So I didn't want to become one of those. I just bought a one-way ticket back. By the time I get back, I figure out what I want to do. My mom was just like, well, we support you. My father was just like, are you crazy? By the time I came back, took over a business that I thought was running, failed at that after a couple of years, and I was left with...
But then, why would his dad, not be in support of that? It's part of what we've been talking about, boxing ourselves in some weird narratives that it's until you stay out of the country that you can make it. This thing is being, that line of thought, I strongly believe is being sponsored by some set of people that are benefiting from, human skilled labor in Africa, all right? Because if they get these skilled laborers in diaspora, especially in the West, they will produce cheap. They'll just give them chicken change, and it look as if they are paying them something. But only a true genius and a real entrepreneur and innovator will, open his eyes and see that it's rather better, far better to be a boss of yourself than just being
argue
in
for what you think is right, not what you know is right, what you think is right. Second is this environment. I've been in Nigeria now 13 years. It's just realizing that the bigger we get, the more we're exposed to the elements of Nigeria. It's not the electricity, it's not the bad roads. The core of this is just a deep-seated, deep-rooted poverty mentality that feels like somebody has to lose in order for you to...
I hope you are getting that. He's the guest speaker is trying to say something there, that the issue is not about the bad roads or the electricity. It's just you making something out of these scarce resources. That's what makes us unique as humans and as Nigerians. What credit do you have when everything is in place and there's nothing for you to do? All you have to do is just sit up, relax, wake up and all that. Then you will not be able to develop your brain to the fullest capacity. I mean, let me give the instance of Adam. When God created Adam into the garden, He didn't just create him there to be eating fruits and honey and all that. He gave him a task. He tasked him. He said, give names to these animals. And God didn't just stop by giving him that assignment. He also stood by and listened to the names he was giving them. And God stamped his authority that whatever name he gave them, that was it. So nomenclature, that system of naming started way back during the time of Adam and Eve. So assuming Adam was just kept there without a task, without anything, a job to do, then he would have been redundant. Okay, his purpose of living would have just been worthless or nothing. All right. So what I'm trying to say in essence is that the difficulties that are existing, that we know that are pre-existing in the Nigerian sphere, all right, electricity, infrastructure, road network, and road infrastructure, perhaps these we've been planted here to make these changes, to thrive in the midst of these same limitations, and of course break the evil. What I just feel that there is a certain pattern that these stories are aligning with, and for me, I think I would pick mindset. I said that before when I was featuring some other videos just like this on this series, this particular entrepreneurship series. As Africans, we need to reset our minds. Whatever it is, whoever created this mindset that it is until you travel out, or it is when you actually go abroad that you make it. I think that person is just perhaps is a con, is a real con person, or they are con people. But eventually, what the potentials, I believe that the potential of every human being at one point or the other will be made. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Now today, as always in this series, I try as much as possible to feature narratives and stories that are actually centered on development and entrepreneurship in Africa, all right, especially in Nigeria, all right. And one of the major purpose of this series is to inspire our younger generation to look inwards, all right, and hone their skills to be productive at home, so that, like the saying goes, charity begins at home. Even if you're going to be a world-renowned star and innovator, it starts from your home. So today's edition, I'm going to be taking a preview, or a review rather, of one of Tyles Aina's interview. All right, the title is he left America with $10 to sell lemonade in Nigeria. So sit back, relax as usual, and let us put together our pens and biros and see one or two things that we can learn from life and not for school.
Yes, everything you see here started with 2000 naira. Wow. Aina here again, and today I have a very special story to share with you guys. How many of you guys know this drink? It's called Wilson's Lemonade. I've been drinking it for like over the past couple years, and it was started by two Nigerian brothers. And today we're going to be meeting one of those brothers, and he's going to be sharing the story about how they came about this very interesting idea. You know when life gives you lemon, you make lemonade. So guys, finally we got to our destination, and I'm currently here beside the co-founder of Wilson's Lemonade, Mr. Sheyi Abolaji. How did this get started? So I moved back to Nigeria. Oh, you moved back? Where were you before then? In the States. I went to school in California at Stanford University, and then I actually just came back to visit. But when I came back to visit, I felt...
Wow, that's one of the top-rated universities, Stanford University.
Like, hey, this is where I need to be, because I have many aunties and uncles in the States that there's always a 2-year plan. In the next 2 years, I'm going back home.
Oh, really?
20, 30 years later, still in the next 2 years. So I didn't want to become one of those. I just bought a one-way ticket back. They said by the time I get back, I'll figure out what I want to do. My mom was just like, well, we support you. My father was just like, are you crazy? By the time I came back, took over a business that I thought was running, failed at that after a couple of years, and I was left with...
But then, why would his dad, not be in support of that? It's part of what we've been talking about, boxing ourselves in some weird narratives that it's until you stay out of the country that you can make it. This thing is being, that line of thought, I strongly believe it's being sponsored by some set of people that are benefiting from, human skilled labor in Africa, all right? Because if they get these skilled laborers in diaspora, especially in the West, they will produce cheap. They'll just give them chicken change, and it look as if they are paying them something. But only a true genius and a real entrepreneur and innovator will, open his eyes and see that it's rather better, far better to be a boss of yourself than just being in servitude.
With, either go back home, call mom and dad to see if they can help me, or try to find something else to do. And so being a former athlete who was used to living a healthy lifestyle, it was actually very difficult to find anything natural to eat, anything natural to drink. Somebody gave me some orange juice, and I was like, this is not orange juice. So the idea came up to make fresh squeezed orange juice. And I was living right by a university, Coventry University at that point in time. So I went on campus, asked one of the ladies that was running one of the cafeterias there, Mrs. Johnson, thank you. And she gave us an opportunity to pay rent at the end of the month. So we started making fresh squeezed orange juice on the campus there.
Oh, so this started inside Godaddy University?
Yeah, inside, yeah, cafeteria too. From having come here and knowing that I failed at my first business, I really couldn't call mom and dad and say, hey, I failed. And I just figured before I pack up and go back home, US was still home at that point in my head, let me try something else. It was a 2,000 naira investment, had a little plastic juicer, 700 naira.
This started with 2,000 naira?
Yes, everything you see here started with 2,000 naira. Wow. A naira and a dream is what my partner, who happens to be my older brother, is showing, always says, this is a naira and a dream. So we had a naira and a dream, and we've been able to start with that. We went from fresh squeezed orange orange juice to smoothies, and then by the time we started off with the lemonade, that's when things really took off. We just kept on looking for opportunities. My brother's a pharmacist by training. I studied history and philosophy. So what we've been doing this whole business is just looking for opportunities. You know, I was still going to the market by myself at that point in time. Day market is where we saw the lemons just sitting there, and it was just like, when life does you lemons, make lemonade. Grab some lemons. My partner happened to be in town at that point in time. He was working in New York, so he initially would come for a week and then go back. And then the next trip he came for 2 weeks. And then the next year he came for 3-4 weeks, went back. So it just kept on his trips here just kept on extending. And it's because every time he came, there was a new aspect to the business. We were making fresh squeezed lemonade at that point, just squeezing, literally just squeezing.
And all of this was done manually, but
everything was manual. It's crazy, like a lot of cutting and squeezing, and consistency sometimes takes starting ugly. We started in a very ugly way. Everything was very crude, very ugly, manual, and all we were focused on is just better. Not perfect, not good, just better. Every day we were just focused on getting a little better. It's amazing because, it was one of our mentors, Auntie Baker. I'm just going to be dropping names. These are just fantastic people that have helped us along this journey. She came and she saw what we were doing. She knew a little bit of my history and my story. So she was like, why are you in Nigeria, Stanford kid? What are you doing here? And then you're making smoothies. And she just saw that I was just like excited to be creating something. And so she was just like, hey, there's this thing called NAFTAC. You should get NAFTAC. We had a line of students who were busy pumping and squeezing. Oh, wow. And he was just like, hey, why don't you just put this thing in a bottle? That night is when the business actually started. Because he was just like, put it in a bottle, let's make it a little easier. One big thing was inventory management. There was a lot of loopholes in our operations. We were picking up old bottles, and people were laughing at us. Oh, really? We're doing sweepers work, we're doing that. Oh, yeah? We literally picked up bottles, went home that night, got a new toothbrush, washed out inside, and next day we made 10 bottles of lemonade. That night, we only sold 2 bottles, and everybody was like, you see, like, nobody wants the bottles, it's only the cups, let's keep going. It's only like 170, 180 cups. 2 bottles. But at the end of the night, like we came with 10, we were able to count 8 more bottles. So we were like, wow, now we can keep track of what we actually are really selling. The cups, they were just interesting. You don't even know the amount. Yes. So we thought we were making progress, but every time we looked up, it was like, oh, that's a funny movement. So we started making the lemonade that way, started putting it in bottles, and before you knew it, within a month or 2, we started selling more bottles than cups. We went from picking bottles ourselves to everybody on the team at the end of the night picking bottles. So there were these old ladies that would walk around like picking up bottles that have, big bags of bottles. So we hired some of them.
So even at this early stage, you already were building like sort of like a mini team.
Yes. I mean, from the very beginning, so we were athletes. There's so much in life you could just kind of relate to sports. So for us, everything is just about like, one, we don't play to have fun, we play to win. Again, with the way mom and dad brought us up is you're gonna move fast, move alone, you're gonna move far, like move together, right? Like one of the most fulfilling parts of this journey for me has just been like building people. You're the leader, but you're not really a leader unless you have other leaders that can challenge you and are actually driving things on their own to move things forward.
That we currently are now.
This is the headquarters of Wilson's Juice Company. This is actually where my bedroom was when I was first in Nigeria for like, I think 13, 15 months. A little shed with a little floor. I had a little Annie that I would sleep on and roll up.
Annie, that was mat.
Oh yeah, that's right. I had a little mat that would be like my bed at night, roll it up, put it behind the desk, and that was my office during the day. Small, compact, but we make a lot of happen.
Oh, there's some old pictures.
Way back. So I was serving when we first started the business. I did a program called Saeed, and that's where I learned about conservatives. This factory that you see now, this is how we started. We were
and I see somebody
hand juicing. Hand juicing.
So what does the name Wilson mean?
When we first started, we're not formally trained business people, right? But we play to win. Anything we do, we play to win. And very early on, we decided, we're probably Nigerian, but we're trying to be globally relevant. So we wanted a name that was easy to pronounce, number one.
Wait. I think I like that line. It says Nigerian but globally relevant. That's something. I think and it's something that I feel every one of us should look forward. You can be African but global at the same time. Alright? You can be Nigerian and global. You could be African and global.
And then something, right? So Wilson's had a lot to do with pride, integrity, XYZ. Like we research names. Some people say Wilson's. Whichever way, still Wilson's. Probably Nigerian, but globally relevant. Could sit on the shelf anywhere. We're proud to be different, right? When everybody was doing the round bottles, we had square bottles. And then better is that emphasis, not on being perfect, not on competing with anybody. Just we want to be better than we were yesterday. That's like the underlying philosophy behind everything we do.
What motivated you to, leave USA
Yeah.
and come down to Nigeria? A lot of people are living here, going there. What do people say, like, are you, like, when you crazy? Are you okay?
That's it. Are you okay?
Are you okay? Like,
Okay. In a very simple way, one of my closest mentors when I was in school was a guy called Professor Cluck. And it was like a very, very direct, kind of blunt dude. And one thing that he said, I was taking a civil engineering course with him. And towards the end of the course, he said something that really struck me. He was like, what disappointment many of you Stanford students is, you come to one of the best schools in the world, you get the best education, and then you go out and you settle. And you have kids that go like no-name schools, and they go out and they change the world. So it's like, so look, all of you guys have a decision to make. You're going to live a life of comfort, or you're going to live a life of impact. For me, it really kind of like struck a chord that my first job out of school, I was making more money than my parents made after 25 years in the U.S. I was able to send money home. I had a house, I had cars. I was making too much money for my and it was like, it was very comfortable. And it just kind of kept on ringing in the back of my mind, like, life of comfort or life of impact. What I saw in Nigeria was an opportunity to make impact, and I saw also an opportunity to make a lot of money. And we've been doing it. The money hasn't come pouring in yet. Clearly, we've made a lot of impact. We're employing directly 60, 70 people. Indirectly, we have 300-400 farmers in our network. We have some people that are working with us on contract basis, sales and merchandising across the country. And now we're trying to flip it into like that money side needs to start coming in.
Yeah, definitely. You mentioned something now that struck me. Where do you get your products from?
So we get it from all parts of Nigeria. We got a little bit north, Kano, Kaduna side.
Oh, really? So definitely what you're doing is impacting a lot of farmers out there.
The lady that we bought the first small bucket of lemons from, she still supplies us lemons. She only supplies us like a bag or two at a time. So now it's just off of like GP. She was with us from the beginning that we're still, patronizing her. And every now and again I see her and she like says prayers. It's like, I sent my child to university off of this business.
Oh, wow.
Blah, blah, blah. Who would know? My mom that's selling lemons as a graduate now. And she's still like 1-2 bags we're buying. These are lemons. These are limes. Lemon, lime. So some are green, some are yellow. What we do is we wash everything here. So all that gets done out here, depending how many lemons we get. Sometimes we get 50 bags, sometimes it's 100 bags. So we do all the pre-treatment out here before we take it inside for a final rinse, and then now we start to juice. So this is after production. It comes back out here. I think we're loading some out right now. Oh, okay. So we get some people, different parts of the country, dealers, retail outlets that we're supplying.
Guys, the last time I won lab coat was when I was in secondary school. I was doing chemistry practical. And even at that, I still did not pass.
So this is our finished goods store. As we're producing against demand. We take into consideration how the orders come in, how we supply, the shelf life, and our production dates. So everything is like extra precaution.
Now, let me just chip this in. When he was asked why he chose Nigeria, in comparison to working in the United States, I think this response, what I really picked out of his response is that he more like, tilted towards emphatically referencing the opportunities in Nigeria. That there's a whole lot of opportunities to grow. That it doesn't really have to do with the money initially, but just impacting lives and creating something relevant to the environment. And from there, before you know it, you pick up, and then you break even the financial barriers, and then you going forward. So that's just one of my takeaways from this Tiger Aina's interview with this wonderful man, this entrepreneur in Nigeria.
After that cap gets on the bottle. So all this we were doing by hand before, but now it's semi-automatic. Get it closer to fully automatic. You wanna carry a couple?
Yeah, I want to carry one.
It's just four now.
Yeah. Okay.
Wilson's, the old fashioned, has Mama Grace and lemons falling off of a truck, and that's just like, when life throws you lemons, make lemonade, right? So make something out of every negative situation. When we came to Fifun, this is a different brand, Fifun Photos. Our goal is to make us living more fun, and we realized our Wilson's brand was getting pushed further and further towards premium. So we came up with another brand to do that specifically, right? So that's how we came with Fifun.
You're a storyteller with your products.
With our products. With our products, maybe, yes. Not as good at telling stories as you are, but we're trying to do something that's for everybody. We want to be accessible. We spent about 2 years trying different formulations. Google's our friend, YouTube is our friend, when it comes to learning about recipes and learning about processes.
So what you're trying to say is you learned a lot on Google and YouTube.
Oh wow,
Just the internet.
those are our teachers. Like, I studied history and philosophy.
Are you guys hearing there? All those people are always like, okay, I don't know how to learn this.
I don't know how.
In your hand.
I don't know how. I don't know how. It's no longer an excuse. Not in this day and age. How we even learned how to manufacture. We Googled how to preserve juice. And it took us to a 4-page study. And in those 4 pages, we learned about sorting, processing, pasteurization, bottling, preservatives. 4 pages. Having to search and being able to just focus on, we need to learn what we need to do, not what machine we need. And so we were able to now, use the tools that we have to fulfill the purpose that we needed. People don't believe it. We started with 2009, but it was like, no, we started with 2009 and hours of research and a lot of trial and error with, 10 nada, 20 nada. We didn't have a million nada to burn, yeah?
Just trying out small
Yeah, we were trying small scale.
And you feel that helped you learn it better than if you had plenty money at
I tell you, 100%. So because we weren't trained, we were able to start from the foundation, the basics of what is the goal you're trying to accomplish. And there's many different ways, on our call water. No, not only there are many roads to one market, something like this, right? There's no excuse for failure. You need to find a way from what you have. So from that 2000, we were able to now say, okay, how can we do? We went from plastic juicer to a squeezer. Before we went to build a manual of a machine that was crushing. Before we, it was step by step by step by step.
I remember you saying something earlier. You said most of the machines here was built here.
Yes.
Why did you decide to locate your business here instead of like the popular Lagos?
This is the only place we have property. At that point in time, it was like, you spend money on getting a prime location somewhere, or you spend money getting going with what you're trying to do. Using what you have to get what you want at all points in time. Not waiting until you get what you need to then do what you want. No, use what you have to just take the next step, right? So we've been, again, create better. That better is just better than we were yesterday. Is this moving in the right direction? Let's go. Is it ideal? No. Is it the ideal situation? Is it the ideal location for a factory? No. But this is what we have.
So it's more like, how could you extract the juice from the lemon of this location? Look, which you already extracted.
And everything is about how do you make lemonade from lemons. As soon as you wake up, everybody's just throwing lemons.
Give us some of the stories of bitter lemons building a business in Nigeria.
One of the biggest challenges is people. Like, it poses one of the best opportunities, but it's actually the biggest challenge. There's education and certification, and then there's education that teaches one how to think, or just people just being curious on their own. And it's been challenging finding people who have that natural curiosity. So there's a lot of yes sir, yes man. It's like we've been trying to teach people to say why, argue,
ask questions.
Give your own importance for us.
Yeah.
There's no really like black and white answer. There's no right answer. There's different levels of rights, different levels of wrong, and then there's a lot of confidence that you have to build in yourself to be able to argue for what you think is right, not what you know is right, what you think is right. Second is this environment. I've been in Nigeria now 13 years. It's just realizing that the bigger we get, the more we're exposed to the elements of Nigeria. It's not the electricity, it's not the bad roads. The core of this is just a deep-seated, deep-rooted poverty mentality that feels like somebody has to lose in order for you to.
I hope you are getting that. He's the guest speaker is trying to say something there, that the issue is not about the bad roads or the electricity. It's just you making something out of these scarce resources. That's what makes us unique as humans and as Nigerians. What credit do you have when everything is in place and there's nothing for you to do? All you have to do is just sit up, relax, wake up, and all that. You know, then you will not be able to develop your brain to the fullest capacity. I mean, let me give the instance of Adam. When God created Adam into the garden, He didn't just create him there to be eating fruits and honey and all that. He gave him a task. He tasked him. He said, "Give names to these animals." And God didn't just stop by giving him that assignment. He also stood by and listened to the names he was giving them. And God stamped his authority that whatever name he gave them, that was it. So that system of naming started way back during the time of Adam and Eve. So assuming Adam was just kept there without a task, without anything, a job to do, then he would have been redundant. Okay, his purpose of living would have just been worthless or nothing. All right. So what I'm trying to say in essence is that the difficulties that are existing, that we know that are pre-existing in the Nigerian sphere, all right, electricity, infrastructure, road network, and road infrastructure, perhaps these we've been planted here to make these changes, to thrive in the midst of these same limitations, and of course break the even. So we should just take note of that. It is very, very important.
Correct, man. So they see Wilsons everywhere, and these are not just like specifically government agents. So we thank God for the progress, and we're not ungrateful, but it's so far from where we're going, and we feel like we're just starting to scratch the surface of the potential of this business. But it seems like every agency around us feels like, now we've hammered, now it's time to reap. You're eating the seeds before we've even had time to germinate. If you must eat a little less. Don't eat with both hands and mouth and everything open. Just take it slower. Let this thing grow, and it will feed many, many more people for generations.
What do you see as the future of the company? And also, are you open to investment in the future?
We have an expansion model that is unique to this environment, but it's very basic and very simple. Our goal from inception A127, the Africa's most valuable natural beverage company, by December 31st, 2027. Everything we do is towards that goal. We're open to the right investments, right? Money is one aspect to success in this environment, and I think anybody who feels like all I need is money doesn't really understand business. Yeah, we're open to the right type of investors.
There's a spot in Lekki that I always go to go and eat amala. As well as to buy since they wanted after eating amala.
Never heard of amala. Wonderful.
So, what's your advice to a lot of young entrepreneurs out there who are looking to start something all over Africa?
I'll say it, and many people won't want to hear it. There's no pride in entrepreneurship, and there's no shame in being an employee. What we need to reorientate ourselves is to focus on where we're adding the most value. My income that I'm taking from this company is 1/10, if not less, than what I was making 13 years ago. I'm saying that because most people think like, entrepreneurship is the way to create wealth. Yeah. That is a path to great wealth. That's one of many. Another path to great wealth is just adding tremendous value. No matter where you are, if you're adding tremendous value, you will become wealthy, especially on this continent. Right? So, I want to be an entrepreneur, I want to be an entrepreneur. The question is like, why? If you really understand your why and can answer that why to 2-3 levels deep, you may be better suited going to go work for a company that's entrepreneurial, or being the number 500 person in a very steady, successful business, but your contribution makes that company a little bit more successful. Don't focus on being an entrepreneur, focus on adding value. And if that means you need to start something on your own, great. And the majority of us will fail. That's just the reality. I'm focused on failing forward continuously, but many people rush into, I want to have my own business, I want to be an entrepreneur. They have no business doing it. That is not sexy. It's a lot of hard work. It's extremely lonely. There's few people who will understand the amount of stress and pressure that you're going to be under. So most people would be extremely valuable as a part of a company, not the head of a company.
Thanks a lot for sharing your story, and thanks a lot for sharing the Wilson story. I'll keep drinking Wilson. If you're interested in learning more about the company or reaching out to them, maybe you want to supply or you want to buy in bulk or you want to use it for your restaurant or whatever, reach out to them. I'm going to link them in the description below. And yeah, guys, that's what we have to share with you today. If you like this video, as always, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
So that's just about it. What I just feel that there is a certain pattern that these stories are aligning with, and for me, I think I would pick mindset. I said that before when I was featuring some other videos just like this on this series, this particular entrepreneurship series. As Africans, we need to reset our minds. Whatever it is, whoever created this mindset that it is until you travel out, or it is when you actually go abroad that you make it. I think that person is just, perhaps is a con, is a real con person, or they are con people. But eventually, what the potentials, I believe that the potential of every human being at one point or the other will be made manifest. All right, so please leave your comments and a like, subscribe to this channel, support us. Our Patreon is out. I'm going to be linking it in this in the description below. So till next time, cheers and all the best.